From 2005 to 2009, weekends were spent gathering friends, siblings, and acquaintances for Backyard Wrestling, an association of misfits and mismatches. Overall, 30 different guys spanning 4 different backyards, 1 front yard. We managed to run our own website. It's now defunct. We ran hours and hours of video cassettes and amassed close to 10,000 total views on YouTube 10 years ago. That's NBWA, New Blood Wrestling Alliance. With this brief history, imagine the stories we have to tell. So, with as much excitement as I can muster, I get to introduce the newest guest on the Burning Success podcast. He's an old rival, he's an old friend, the true face that ran the place, a member of creative, a wrestler, the cameraman, producer, editor, creator of HUW, the other half behind the creation of NBWA, the only NBWA wrestler to put his name on merch, a man that never opened a gate, the shaman of the Star-Spangled Banner. I'm sorry, the Star-Spangled Swanton, the artist of the Air Raid Siren, Brandon Young Gun Ballard. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Yeah, that's great.
Very proud to have never opened a gate. Well, technically, I did open a gate once, but it was by accident.
Yeah.
No, I went to pull it and it to jump over, and it opened like it was loose because the guy before me. And I'm like, oh shit, the gate opens. Like, yeah, we all walked through it. Like, oh.
That's great.
And he went back to jumping over him.
Yeah,
went right back to jumping over
it.
It's exciting to see you here, man, Brandon. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. This is great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely.
Excited to talk about the old days.
Yeah, and that's the point of today's podcast. And if it sounds good, I think we can jump in straight to questions for you. So, I think the main part and Steve is the one that was the curator of all this. He's the mastermind of this podcast. And one of the things I know he's curious about for all of us is, where your wrestling fandom started. So maybe we could start there, give us an idea of your background and everything, and we can kind of build from there. Yeah.
Sounds good. So I started watching wrestling with my dad. So, which I'm sure is a lot of people's experience with wrestling growing up as a kid. Like, I think most of the time at that point I was watching WCW because that was the time of the Monday Night Wars. But my dad would switch between them. But usually Raw started a little bit later, so I didn't catch too much of that because it was past my bedtime. Then, growing up, I then started watching wrestling on my own. There's a weird moment. I think it was in middle school that I watched Raw at that point, and then there was a certain with my dad, and then at a certain point I told dad over the summer, I was like, man, I feel like watching wrestling, but it's not Monday, and he's like, well, sit down. I'm like, okay, and it just happened to be while SmackDown was airing, and I had no knowledge that SmackDown was a thing, and that was the first time oh, I can watch wrestling on my own. And it kind of went from there. I started watching, SmackDown, watched Raw, watched the ECW revival that WCW was basically just another WWE show. And then it was after meeting up with you guys that got me into the indie scene. Even then I thought I had no knowledge that indie wrestling was a thing. I just hadn't thought about it. And then from there getting into OH and all that stuff.
Yeah. So out of that, did you have a favorite brand at that time, or did you just, like you said, you just watched anything that you were able to get your hands on? Or
it was depending on I more focused on the wrestlers themselves. So whichever show, I liked SmackDown because I loved Eddie Guerrero.
There you go.
I loved Raw because of HBK. I enjoyed ECW for a long time because specifically of CM Punk coming in there. So,
so that's awesome, man.
Whoever whoever the great talent was that spoke to me, that was what I was watching. So
I like that. Spoke to you. See, and I think that's important. Definitely.
Absolutely.
We'll shift gears a little bit here. Now, what started HUW? That was your first brand, the one that you
Yeah.
created. Yeah.
yeah,
Give us a little bit about that.
that is so me and I don't know if I should I use the old wrestling name or should I use the real name for Blood
Yeah.
Riot.
I think we did. Yeah. Okay.
Me and him, like, we was one of the first people I met that was also a wrestling fan. So, like, we would hang out, play wrestling video games together, and watch pay-per-views or old match. Like, sometimes we'd hang out and just watch Raw, SmackDown, whatever was on, and then me and him would just bullshit. Like, I think this was still middle school at this point, maybe early high school. So we would just, like, no mattresses, not even outside, usually just be in my living room doing wrestling moves. And as we
been there.
Like, yeah, we kind of gathered a couple, like, pulled other friends, a lot of whom were not into wrestling, just liked hanging out. And like, oh yeah, let's do this. And they're like, okay, yeah, sure. So we started doing, like, little thing, like, no organization. At one point, we're like, then after meeting Wolfgang, Archangel, whatever names he went by,
Nephitis,
all the
Nephitis.
And John, sorry, I never remember. Like, should we call him Reg? Should I call him John Sabian? What are we doing with this?
I think John Sabian works fine. We're talking NBWA.
Yeah.
Fair.
When you say John, you're referring to John Sabian.
Yes. I also have the issue that I typically call people, like, I will call people by the name they went by at the time that I'm remembering.
That's
so
fair.
That seems natural.
Yeah. So when I met those guys, we actually started doing a little bit more, like, control, like, actually had, like, okay, we got titles. Let's have people be champions, and, like, there's still no story, but whenever we can, we meet up, we'll do matches, and, like, sometimes titles will change hands, and we'll go from there. We'll wrestle, like, still no mattresses, just a tarp in the backyard, or eventually when we did get mattresses, we put it in the garage or the front yard, so, and it's just kind of built out from there. Usually if you're like, okay, we got 3 guys who can show up today, so we're going to do some matches, and each one of us is going to win 1 match.
Nice.
That's fair.
I do have a quick question to interject.
Yeah.
Brandon, why are you not in any type of sales? Because you sold me on Chris being a fucking 6'3" monster, dude. I was sold.
Well,
I was all
fair.
in. I ran back. I told Kevin. I think I found him in the hallway at high school, and I'm like, dude, you'll never guess what I got. I talked to this kid. They got a 6'3" monster. They got this. They got guys who want to go through tables.
Yeah. Yeah, I think at that time it wasn't even like, I think I don't know if I did this in HUW. No, we did plywood for HUW. Before that, I did tables, but I've had sheets of foam that I would, like, cover in something brown to make it look like a table.
Like wood. Oh yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do though.
But yeah, no, by the time we started HUW, it was plywood, because I remember the first match I had with Chris, one of us went through a table, and then as I grabbed Chris from behind to do a move, he brought up the sheet of plywood and smacked me right in the side of the nose, and I think broke my nose. Like, I never went to the doctor, so I can't say, like, but it hurt like a bitch for a while. So that's the first experience I had with, but, like, even now I'm, like, just under 5'10", so Chris being 6 foot, 300 pounds.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh, yeah.
6'3". He was taller than me. All right,
Yeah.
That's what you should have said.
Like, if I sell myself as 6 foot, he has to be 6'3". 6 foot.
There you go. That's fair.
Makes sense now.
Yeah.
This seems like a good point to interject how Brandon and I actually met. It was in creative writing class, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think we met because we both worked at Kroger.
Correct. All 3 of us.
Yeah.
Everyone on
I think
this
all 3 of us
podcast
worked
so far has worked at Kroger.
Yeah, that's funny.
if you
Sponsored by Kroger.
grow up in the Cincinnati area, I think you just work at
True.
Kroger, because
True.
like even the Let's Play like Markiplier growing up in Cincinnati, he talked about at one point he worked at Kroger. Kroger was like one of his first
I
jobs.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Markiplier grew up in Cincinnati. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's up in Milford. Like the other two guys, Wade and Bob that he plays games with all the time. Has a podcast with.
All of them.
Like Wade never left. Wade's still up in Milford. Bob went to San Francisco for a couple of years and just moved back. So they're all up in Milford. Oh my
gosh, I had no idea. Wow. Sorry to derail.
Yeah.
When you said that, I was like, wait, what? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah.
So yeah, we all worked at Kroger. I don't think we interacted too much.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think probably a conversation here and there. But creative writing is when we really like oh yeah, I know you from Kroger, so I'm more willing to just openly talk to you.
Right.
Because like I'm aware of who you are, as opposed to someone completely new.
Correct.
And then that's when we found out that in creative writing is when we found out we both liked wrestling.
Because and maybe I'm adding memories to an already, like a memory that's already there. But the way I remember it is we had to stand up and present a writing that we had done, a short story. The short story that you told was your perspective of a wrestling match, and me being a huge wrestling fan. As you're going through and telling the story, you don't say in the story that it's wrestling. You just talk about how you're picked up and you're swirled around, you're spun around, or like I said, I may be adding things here. This isn't verbatim, not that it matters, but and then you crash through something and whatever, and it was a fraction of the story. We weren't reading the whole story. We just had to get up and present a little bit, a snippet. And so you come and sit back down, and you sat next to me, and I go,
we sat like right beside each other.
Yeah, and I go, were you taking it was an FU at the time before you changed it to an attitude adjustment. I'm like, were you taking an FU? And you were like, yeah, I was, blah, blah, blah. And so we start talking, and like I said, this is maybe where I'm mixing up memories, but I remember you telling me you were getting ready to have a ladder match. And so we're supposed to be doing creative writing, and I just start talking your ear off about spots you should do in this ladder match. I'm like, have you thought about doing this, or what's this? And that's when you tell me that you have a 6'3" monster named Fungus that can choke slam you through a table and all this. I'm all in. I was hook line. I was in. I'm like, oh,
hook line sick.
Yeah. So I don't have any, but that does sound like that has enough details of things that I do remember, because we did. I know before you guys joined, we did have a ladder match. It was me. I know me and Chris for sure, because there's a spot where he did like the cross powerbomb thing, but it was just on the grass, and the way like he did so I didn't completely destroy myself is like when he put me over my shoulders and my feet hit up here to like spread out as much as I could. So it looks weird, but I didn't get hurt, so I'm going to accept it. So
that's fair.
That was a ladder match that happened before you guys joined, so that adds up. I don't remember presenting. It completely sounds like me that I would write a story about wrestling and do that.
Go back and find your notebook, dude. It's in there.
I mean, I have lost so many notebooks over the years, so I don't store things well. So, but it totally sounds plausible. If you remember it, I completely believe it.
I've told the story to Alyssa, my wife, and I've told it to Kevin. I've told it to Josh. I've told it so many times about how it's just weird that we were sitting there in creative writing and we hadn't conversated. You tell a story about taking a FU and going through a table or even onto the ground. I can't recall everything. And then you coming back and sitting down, and I remember feeling like someone else backyard wrestles, because Kevin and myself and my brother were, and every other, like you said, we'd pull in random friends that were like you guys backyard wrestle? And it's like, look, just stand
Yeah.
there and let me pretend to hit you for a minute, buddy.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that would happen, and we called it EWA, Extreme Wrestling
Yeah,
Association or Alliance, whatever it was. At the time.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I remember just talking about that because that was the first storyline we did was EWA
Oh, that's
Invasion.
right.
Mine and Kevin's Invasion.
Yeah, an invasion. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Josh joined in, like, I think shortly after as part of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He did.
So
And then that's when we became the New Blood Wrestling Alliance shortly after that.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so that all leads us up to, I just kind of wanted to interject that I always thought that was kind of a fun story, that all of the reason all of this is happening now is because you wrote a story 12 years ago, 14 years ago, whatever it's been now.
yeah.
Yeah.
14 years ago, and here we are. So it's just kind of
That's actually really cool.
Probably a really
It's
bad
wild.
story too, honestly, but just enough to know wrestling.
He's like, it was
I mean,
actually a really shitty story.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
probably.
that's right.
In
I
high
booed
school,
I don't remember. I don't know if you remember this. I booed you while you were giving your presentation in class.
You threw stuff at him, actually.
You're like, I relate, but you suck.
We're gonna backyard wrestle, but this story's shit.
Yeah, the story is
Alright.
shit, and we're gonna settle how shit your story is in the ring.
Yeah. Start cutting up.
That's how it all started, actually.
Yeah.
Right in middle class. Oh my god.
I
Oh, that's
mean,
really cool, though.
Given how much Young Gunn and Steve Hamblin never got along in the ring, like, that's one of the ones I don't think. Like, I don't think there was a single time for all the back and forth and like where Young Gunn and Steve Hamblin ever were on good terms in
Yeah.
any storyline we did.
tagged. We were always rival,
Yeah.
and to be honest, I
Yeah.
think it's because we always could put on a reliable match.
Exactly.
And the thing is, getting into this,
I am-
you guys,
I am-
go ahead.
I am curious of what a Young Gun Steve Hamblin tag team would have
Tag
looked
would be
like.
Mhm.
Because
we could've been
like those like because
Mhm.
Young Gun and John Sabian had we were that tag team, and we were reliably good as a tag team, and we were reliably good as rivals, because John and I were always did ever wanted to do the same thing twice. We always
Right.
wanted to push in different ways, and
Correct.
me and you were the same way. So
Yeah, I agree. And you'll find throughout this, that I romanticize NBWA and look back with rose-colored glasses, because when me and Kevin were watching it, I don't know, a few weeks ago or whatever, some of it's unbearable. Like, you just can't.
oh yeah, no,
you
so
can't
it's
even watch
terrible.
it. And then
Oh yeah,
I'll turn
no,
on.
we
Go ahead.
we didn't get like really like somewhat solidly good until the last year or two. Like the last year or two, there was like because me and John like watching it at one point, and he was like going through, because I have the a bunch of the old Super shows, and we watched through them, and he was like, "This is terrible. This is good." He's like lost in lights. Like, I'm not. I got through that whole match without cringing. That wasn't bad.
Right.
So because like our bull rope match, which was supposed to be me and you,
And
Steve.
my grandma
but, like,
got sick. Damn her.
Yeah.
Ah,
Because I know that would have been, because at the end, like, I think through all of the Super shows that I ended up watching, like, the first one was me and John tagging against two people. The next one was me versus Chris. And it was me versus John, me versus Yuri, me versus John, me versus John. Like, half of my Super Show matches were against John.
Right.
So it'd been nice to have, at least one of those been not against John.
Yeah, I was, and I was thinking about this, and I don't know why. Well, to be honest, I do know why, because I have old booking sheets. You're going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's
you can't
awesome.
really see it, but there's just
Yeah.
weeks and weeks of
Yeah.
old booking sheets from, like,
Oh no!
2008,
You showed me
2009.
back at. Yeah, you showed me back in in creative writing, like even before we had started, you'd already started booking shit. Like in your creative writing notebook, you'd show me like, "Hey, I think this would be great. Here's a good match for this." And it's like, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
no, you were
was,
in it.
Yeah, and then we dragged different people into it. At one point there were 30 of us. I got a list here, and
Yeah.
maybe not. We didn't have. We never had
All
30
at
guys
once.
show up.
We know we
once,
had 30 at one time. Yeah,
but
no.
our roster was 30 deep at one point.
Yeah,
So,
I believe it. 'Cause, yeah, we had a bunch of people showed up for a day, or like went away for a while, then would come back again for a day, and so yeah, we had a bunch of people come and go.
yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kevin, if you want to jump in with a couple more questions, or if you have any more, or if you want to just keep
Yeah, let's
rambling
do
on about NBWA, we can.
No, I think this is exactly what we were looking for. I think we do have a few more other questions. And maybe this kind of ties in with our first question that we had too. But out of all the wrestling, any good memories that you had? Anything that you were really fond of, romanticize? I know Steve talked about how you romanticize NBWA, but even in the wrestling professional brands, I mean, is there anything that you can go back on to where you felt like you did originally, and then maybe follow up with that is how you kind of fell off, if you did. We assume you did. I know I kind of
Yeah.
did, and we go in and out. Yeah.
Mhm.
Go down that. Yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, I absolutely still romanticize the NBWA days. Like I have a folder on my computer that's of all the old videos that I could get, and it's literally titled "Good Old Days."
Oh, we should see those.
Yeah, I'll try to get them over to you. Like me and Steve were talking about it previously, so
Yeah,
we'll get them over to you at some point. And I know there was a lot of like behind the scenes, like just a bunch of high school boys doing this, and a lot of weird ego moments in that, and like a lot of high school drama that comes from that, because shit's weird at that point.
Right.
But yeah, I still love it. Still happy that it happened. Still happy I did it. I don't romanticize this one, but doing the air raid with Josh through his rear windshield is definitely a moment I think about a lot.
We'll never forget that one.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I'm very glad no one got seriously hurt of that one.
Yeah.
Because when I did the move, I thought Josh's head had gone through. I thought I'd kill him, so I'm so glad that didn't happen.
Yeah. It was all good. Yeah. Right. But even like professional brands, do you still watch wrestling today? Or?
I've actually started going back to it. I fell off and came back on a few times through college, and shortly after college. I remember this thing, like I watched the pay-per-view back in like 2011, where with CM Punk versus John Cena, when Punk was supposed to be leaving, like his contract was going to be up and all that. And that was huge. I was watched that with John with a bunch of other people, and I after like right after that pay-per-view, we all looked at each other like, so should we start backyard wrestling again, guys? Like, so like 2 years after we stopped, like, hey, should we start doing like to start discussing? Do we want to do this? Do we want to? And then like we're like 21 and over, and I was like, oh no, we have other things going on. It is really difficult to actually work out everyone's schedules, and everyone's going through a lot of shit and a lot of changes right now. Maybe this is not a thing we can do. But we discussed it for like tried to work it out for quite a while there.
Actually, I had a question.
That was huge.
I have a question written down. How close do you think we really were? Because I remember I have emails still from like 2011, 2012, where we were going to do a re-up, and like you and me and John had talked, and you and maybe I might have emailed Kevin or text Kevin and Adam and Northcutt, and I remember Northcutt being like, "Oh, we can't do that," and me and Adam. That was 2011. We were probably still hanging out at the time. So he was like, "Oh man, my back, I can't be doing that." So there was a few people that were like absolutely no goes, but like I know Kevin's always been willing to go back. Do you think it was at all real close, or were we just talking shit?
I think it's hard to say how close we were, because I don't think we're gonna find the numbers for it. Like I think we had a group of like maybe 5 people who were like full on in, and then to the point that like I know John and I were discussing like could we do
Multiple
masked
characters.
wrestlers
Yeah.
so we could do multiple characters because I have a character that I still just like really love, but like the whole point of the character is that he's the ultimate jobber. Like he's literally just a comedy character to just put over, like just open up the show with a laugh and like not expecting a huge group after something entertaining, and can put over whoever needs to get put over.
Right.
So that literally his record would be like 0 and 100 or something like that.
But damn, if he were to win one match, it'd be huge.
Oh no, the storyline I had planned for that character is literally his first match literally is just like he goes to shake the person's hand and they immediately hit the finisher and pin him.
Yeah.
And the next one there's a little bit more, he like doesn't get any offenses, but he gets the shit beat out of him, but it's not just the finish and just keeps going a little, like he just does a little bit better each match. And then like at some point, like, and then at some point, like, so he still has never won a match. At some point, there's a big storyline where the title ends up getting vacated and there's going to be a Royal Rumble for the title. And by just weird coincidence, everyone ends up getting eliminated right before the last guy comes out, and he's the last guy. So his first victory ever is the title.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then like from there, it's like, okay, he has to defend the title the first time, and he actually wins by complete accident. Like the guy, the guy goes to do something and like he rolls out of the way, and the guy hits the ref, so the guy gets disqualified instead of him actually winning. So it just keeps kind of doing like Bugs Bunny type shit.
But and then it has like a huge winning streak. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. He starts becoming he starts actually winning normally and defending the title. Yeah. It's a big deal. Yeah. And then he finally comes up against a monster who he does have some offense, but just beats the ever loving shit out of him to the point that he has to go away for a while, and then comes back as a just weird, goofy wrestler who sometimes wins, sometimes loses.
Can still wins. There you go. I like that. That would have been entertaining. So that would have been pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, that'd been perfect too as a mask. I get the idea, the mask character and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's the point that he doesn't talk like his name was Horseradish, so his like his whole like you know, everyone I told him I was like, oh, so he's like a Pokemon because he goes Horseradish. You can just say Horseradish. That's all he can say.
I'd buy that. I like it.
So oh no, it's a marvelous character that I thought about, like if I ever had gone into actual wrestling, because you know you can't when you start off in even in low independent promotions, like when the first match you're not gonna be the winning guy. So it's like I'll bring in Horseradish, and once I get like some credibility and like actually talent to be able to do things, when I can start winning matches, then I'll bring in a character that I actually
there you go.
care about.
Yeah, build your resume. Yeah, build your resume first. That makes sense.
Not that I don't care about Horseradish. I love Horseradish, but he's made to lose, and so it works.
Exactly. Now, when it came to you guys doing this re-up, I mean, was there a location that you guys figured, or was that still in the works at the time?
We were discussing at that point doing it back into my parents' backyard. They had gotten the pool removed, so we just had this big empty space. And
really? Oh, dude, that would have been perfect. Oh man, really?
Yes. So literally we were discussing, could we do something like looking into how rings are built so we could kind of like build a ring. And we were discussing at one point if we want to like kind of like mix in aspects of like UFC aspects of like, you can win by knockout kind of thing. So you can just build like the platform almost like Mortal Kombat style without ropes. Or if we wanted to like all go in on a ring and have a dedicated place we could put the ring and then store it.
Shane McMahon actually just did that recently with WWE.
Oh, really?
WWE Backlot or Back whatever. It was basically it was just a platform, and the guys would do more MMA style. It would be knockout or submission or ref stopping.
I mean, it's a cool concept because I know ROH did that too for a bit. Like you could win by knockout. Like I don't know how much they did it, but it was conceptually there for them.
Yeah.
Well,
that's really cool.
Go ahead, Kevin.
No, you go ahead. You're fine.
I was just gonna say, I remember us talking about it pretty heavily, and I remember I had come up with a couple characters, and I was looking through the emails a couple of weeks ago about it, and I just know that like John at the time had sent this like list of, no, I don't want to say demands, but like rules, not rules for the
Yeah.
matches, not gimmicks, but like
Mhm.
he was like, you have to have a wrestling singlet, and you have to have wrestling shoes, and it's going to be on these days. And I remember I read my reply back, and it was like, I'm all for it. You know, I can make my work schedule something around that, and you know, I was making pretty good money at the time, so I can afford this stuff. But like some guys, like you were in school, weren't you, at the time?
Yeah. I I was still in college at that time. I didn't graduate until 2012. I know. I think like I know I was not as hardline as John on something, but I was like, because I think that was after I'd done that short bit of wrestling training with that guy who was pulling from Backyard Wrestlers, who ended up being a complete asshole.
I want to
Yeah.
get side note.
Like,
I want to get into that.
I
Yeah, that
feel
would
you.
be good.
So I had done some training, and my thing was like, okay, we're getting into our 20s now. If we do this long term, we get into the mid 20s, and like later, we're not high schools anymore. So bouncing back from injuries is going to be more difficult. So like I was like, okay, I would like to, anyone I would work with, I would want to have at least have the same level of wrestling training as I do,
Right.
so that we can all be like on the same page doing the same thing, so it's not looking like sloppy, and that we're actually doing good and we're actually protecting each other. And especially since like we're talking about building a ring or getting a ring, having been up there in a ring, they're not soft.
Right.
So it's like, it wasn't like landing on mattresses. It was closer to like landing on the grass with like a pad on it. Like, so it was very easy to hit it weird and get hurt. Like, I know there was a point that like I forgot to take a bump in a certain way, and I cracked my head on it, and I like rolled out of the ring. I was done for the rest of that day because it fucked me up. So I know I was pushing for that especially, and John was like, "Yeah, I'm on board with that." And other people like, "I'm not doing, like, if I'm not doing this because I want to do like all this other stuff. Like, I just really like, doing wrestling, man. I'm not gonna go through this training or whatever you're doing." It's like, and I wasn't like I never fully finished the training because I went back to college, and the guy was like, "Well, I don't know if you're dedicated enough for this." And it's like, I'm getting a degree, and like I'm not gonna like. We both know your thing is never gonna pay my bills, so
Right.
And then Donnie, I think Donnie finished, and Donnie did a couple matches. I never got to see Donnie wrestle.
Really?
Yeah. Because he and Donnie had a falling out because apparently he was not treating Donnie well, not using Donnie as more of a job, and not being very nice to him, from what I heard.
Right.
That's what you wanted to ask more about, his training and all that.
Yeah, I kind of I was just curious if you could elaborate on it. Like, how'd you find the guy? What was it? How long did you do it? Some more information on that.
So he found us because he apparently, from what the story he told me at that time was, which I think is mostly accurate, like he's an asshole, but I don't think he like was necessarily a liar as much, just a dick. And so he had been looking, like he had recently, he had done backyard wrestling way back, and then got into professional wrestling, and then he had falling out with a bunch of people and was basically not able to work with the wrestling promotions in the area. So he was like starting his own promotion, and because he had a bad reputation with everyone, he had his friends that he used to do backyard wrestling with, who had also done training, were coming with him, and he was then sent messages to a bunch of backyard wrestling promotions in the area asking if anyone was interested. and we were one of them. And it came to me
Mm.
because my email was the one connected
Mhm.
to
YouTube.
the YouTube pages, and like we had already stopped wrestling at that point. Like we stopped doing back. I think this was 2010, so I think it was like a year after we'd stopped. And I was like, yeah, like, that was something I had considered going into at one point. So I was like, yeah, cool, yeah, this easier way in. He was offered like, okay, good deal on the training, like spending, like basically cutting off. Yeah, they had a space that they were going to have dedicated to that area that they were going to rip all the walls out of to make it an open area. And it's like, yeah, if you help us rip these walls out, we'll knock money off your training, and if you do enough of this, it'll be free. So like, yeah, I get to rip walls out of something and get free training for it. Sure, yeah, I'm not going to say no to that.
Actually, a good deal.
Yeah, so then up there, I contacted a few people. Like I contacted John, I contacted Donnie and Chris, and I think like throughout all that, like I don't remember if any of the three of them went up with each other at any point or not, but they all went up with me at different points to do this training. I ripped out these walls. I think I might have given him some money because there's a few times I wasn't available to do certain things, but and just they had the ring set up with the ceiling. You could not do something you could not have any height on the top rope. Like if I jumped any amount up from the top rope, head was going through the ceiling. But there was enough room that you could get up there and leap forward off of it. I figured out how to do a springboard off of that, which was weirdly pretty easy for me. And there's a lot more spring. Like even though it's a hard surface, there's more spring than I expected. So back in the day when I did the kip up, always had to use the hands, and I always like barely made it. And then, but in the ring, I was like, okay, I could do a kip up, so let me do a kip up. So I used my hands, and I nearly launched myself onto my face. Like in a ring, I had to not use my hand for the kip up, and I would easily land on my feet. If I used my hands, it was just too much momentum. I would launch too far forward. And I considered at one point, like, can I turn that into a move? Can I turn that into like a body splash onto someone? Like, I don't know. But like the weirdness started pretty like early in the training, where he would give an instruction that was like hyper unclear. I'd ask for clarification, and he'd just say the same thing again. And then I would do something and get like not badly hurt, but kind of like in pain over the thing. And he's like, see, I told you to do this. I'm like, I don't know what you mean by that. And he'd explain then after I got hurt. And I'm like, okay. And then I would do the springboard clothesline, and I would land it like CM Punk lands it, like on the side. And he's like, that's not the right way to do it. You got to do this way, where you land on your back. And I'm like, okay, like that doesn't seem right. That seems a really weird way to do that move. It makes it look a little bit worse, in my opinion. He's like, nope, that's the right way to do it. And if you're not willing to do it that way, you shouldn't do that move. So I said, okay. So I would try it, and once like doing it the way he wanted it, I got hurt. Like trying to like hit this way and then turn and land on my back, like that's a weird momentum. I would like hit my elbows and like crack my head trying to do that shift in midair. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what are you talking about? So
that's a shame.
He's like, oh, I have all these ideas for like great characters for this, and it's like the list off like, oh yeah, the Southern preacher character, the British Shield. It's like these are great ideas. Like these are the most generic, run-of-the-mill 80s wrestling ideas I've ever heard, man. Every promotion ever has done this before. This is tropes. And he was selling it to me like this is like the freshest shit. He was like almost 40.
Okay.
He was like 38. Like I think he'd been married like twice, and had been married for like quite some time. And he was like, yeah, my wife loves that I am not in the house as much. Like I get out more now that we're doing this. And it's like, yeah, your wife doesn't want to spend time with you.
That's what that means.
One bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Starting to connect the dots here.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like by the time I had went back to college, it's like, hey, I'm 2.5 hours away. I think driving back for this thing even once a month might be a little much. And it was like, well, I don't think you're dedicated enough. I don't think this is for you. It's like, I see why you have a bad reputation with everyone, man.
Exactly.
Because he also, another time he even got started, a bunch of his friends also backed out because he was like he wanted them to help and like dedicate to a lot of things, but he didn't want to give up any creative control in it.
Oh.
And he's like, oh, and he was like, okay, if you're not going to pay me, I want a share of whatever tickets we get. Like, I want that agree. Like don't have to pay me now, but when we start doing it and you start selling tickets for this thing, I want a share of the profits. And he like refused to do that even for anyone. So it's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah. There's a lot of ego issues happening. Yeah. Oh yeah.
You're asking a lot for nothing. And it's like for your benefit only. That sounds very exploitative, my man.
Yeah.
Exactly. It is.
Yeah. So
speaking of Donnie and do you talk to anybody else from wrestling currently?
I still talk to John pretty regularly. I talk to Donnie every now and then. I used to talk to Chris and David more. Haven't for a bit. Occasionally, I've talked to Ben every now and then. So those are the main ones I think I've still talked to.
Do David and them not live in state anymore or anything? Are they gone? Do you know anything?
No, they still do. They just, they still do. Chris is married and works a lot. David has been married, divorced a few times. I think is married again with kids. So, like, he works a lot.
Right.
Donnie is just around, but like I think he's further up north now. So,
okay.
Just not in the direct area anymore.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen. I mean, me and John have hung out a few times. I was a couple years ago, probably 2 years ago now. Me and Kevin still talk. Me and Northcutt still talk. Haven't talked to Adam in a while. I haven't seen or talked to Donnie, Chris, or David in the better part of a decade, probably.
Yeah. There was one point, like I think shortly after college, when me and Donnie hung out, and we were just talking wrestling and talking about what happened with that guy, and then we just went into the backyard, and I had a slightly better camera at this point, so we just did a impromptu match just in the backyard on grass for the hell of it. So, and it was pretty fun.
That's what.
So he was, technically speaking, he's the last person I wrestled. So
nice.
Yeah.
Me and Kevin talk about all the time how we'd love to, have a short little run. And then like 2 years ago, 2 years ago we got a real big tax refund, and I had some money left over from whatever I had, a couple of side jobs or whatever, and I looked into actually buying a ring, and Alyssa was like, "Yeah, buy it," and I picked it out, and it was in my cart forever, and I just couldn't pull the trigger because I'm like, what am I going to set this up in the backyard and then me and the kids wrestle, and then I got to break it down every day, or I do get a couple guys to come over, but then I got to set it up. It's a full day. Set up, break down, put away. Yeah. It rains. You
it's going to fuck it up. Yeah. It was always a consideration of maybe not buying, but like finding a place you could rent a ring for a day and doing at least a reunion show or something. I talked to you about that previously. I can tell Kevin about it now, about like my like kind of like, vaguely booked a reunion show, and like the opening match idea I had was Armed Forces versus American Adrenaline versus Scorched America versus, what was the other one? Oh, Scum of the Earth. You noticing a pattern here, Kevin?
Right. Yeah, that's actually a really cool idea.
Yeah, I am in all four of those.
All
tag
four
teams.
of them.
So it would literally be like I come to my entrance
Just
with
stay
the
in
first
the ring.
group. I did my entrance with the first guy. Like we're done. Like as soon as like that cuts, I just roll out of the ring, run back to the back, like change into the new attire. Like and it's just like it starts off with me on the outside. Anyone can tag me in, and like my idea like to how to end it would be like so one thing, and I would get tagged in as each version of this. It's like no matter what, like I'm supposed at least no matter what, I should win because no matter who wins, I do. And then like have the conclusion of that be like someone's going for a pin, they're about to win, and I break up the pin, and then go back out to be like, oh, tag me and tag, and like everyone's like stops and stares, like realizes, wait, what the fuck is happening right now? Yeah. Then just pulls me in, everyone hits their finisher, beats the shit out of me, and walks out.
Oh, there you go.
So yeah,
I'd have liked that. That'd have been pretty cool. Yeah,
So,
reunion show would have been pretty neat. I think all around that would have been fun. Yeah.
Yep.
I love that.
I don't know. I got a couple of things here that maybe Brandon can clarify. It's just off the top of my head. I wrote these things down, and I just want to see if I was close on NBWA facts. NBWA fact or fiction.
Okay. Yeah,
I like it.
Well, if I say fiction, that means one of us is definitely wrong.
Well,
it could be me.
Right.
Yeah.
So our largest audience was 30 people. Is that right? We had 30 people at Coton's house the one time.
I never count. I never counted how many people we had some decent crowds. I remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, I have all. Like I said, I have the so it was Final Ascent, the first one, which I don't remember what we named. Save Your Soul and Honor Before Glory, which I think was the because that was one that I came up with, and then it was like, oh yeah, that's an ROH show. I'm like, damn it, we'll change it, and they're like, no, it's fine. no one's gonna know. Like that's not gonna get back to ROH or anything.
Right. And that was unpaid, so the gate was real low. The gate was zero.
Yes.
It was $0.
It was free. I'm 95% sure most of the people there didn't give a shit about wrestling. They were just one of our friends from somewhere. Like, yeah, let's go see this weird thing our buddies are doing.
I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, I know. Well, some of it was like youth group and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, that was from my youth
showed
group.
Up to, hang out, and so that was cool.
Yep.
Zero merch. We sold no merch that I know of.
Nope, we didn't sell. Yeah, I don't think we sold anything. I talked at one point about like making the DVDs and like selling them to people for like $1 just to cover costs, and then like that never happened.
And then the buy rate zero. We've never sold a pay-per-view.
No, never sold a pay-per-view.
No network wanted us, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to merch for a second. Technically speaking, I can't say zero merch sold if you include me.
Really?
Because I
didn't know that.
Cause I made that HUW Warriors shirt that I spent money on that.
Yeah,
and I wore and I gave that to Craig.
Oh, damn. $24.
That's right.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I gave that to Craig for free. So, and then I had that Young Gun visor, so I spent money on that. So.
Oh damn, Young Gun's top merch seller.
Yes.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Yes. Young Gun was a top merch seller to Young Gun. Young Gun could sell Young Gun on anything.
And then I have $6 in concessions. Is that about right?
I mean, I guess maybe there's a few more, but I don't think like we were too hardline on like people like, hey, I don't have money. Yeah, it's like if you don't have money, we're not gonna sell you concessions. No, you don't have money here. Take it. Fuck it.
I just remember me and Josh being so fucking mad the first Super Show. We show up and we walk over and like there's that box of potato chips, like the 36, and I'm like, oh, can I grade them? You're like, 50 cents. I said, are you fucking kidding me? I'm the draw here, baby. I'm the main event. You charge me 50 cents?
Yeah. I was. Oh, especially shit. 16-year-old Brandon was trying so hard to be a hustler, man. Trying so fucking hard to be a hustler. Like us, and like by like I think by 17 or 18, I'm like, I don't give a fuck anymore, man. Like whatever.
Right. Yeah, I just remember. Yeah, 'cause I
So
like walk up and I'm like about to take one. You're like, that's 50 cents, and I'm like, is he fucking with me? 50 cents. Whatever it was. It could have been a quarter. I don't. The point is that
I don't like a nickel. Yeah, I asked you for
Principle.
money. That was the point.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
bag of chips, dude. Charges these geeks. I'm at the show. I'm in the show. I'm the main event of the show. There's my beautiful wife.
Yeah.
You just popped
Yeah.
up on screen, honey.
Yeah. Fading in and out of existence.
And so we had, that's just my gimmick in the show is that I come up with all the, the buy rate and the audience and all this, and if it's sold out, and
Yeah.
so I kind of do, some background on it. So I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And then-
if we had like sold out, like how much space we had, like especially for the last shows when it was my entire parents' backyard. Dude, if we fucking sold out a show, that would have been an insane number of people.
Yeah.
Well, the first one at Coton's house was huge. I mean, there were a lot of people there.
There were quite a few people, and like I think we had, because it was the last show we were doing, and we're like telling everyone, "Hey, this is us going out." We had quite a few people, and apparently, when we were at my parents' house, there were certain times when we had an audience that we didn't know about.
The next door
So
neighbor.
there's some like there's some next door neighbors that we did see, and there was even neighbors like down the hill from my parents in the backyard who apparently would occasionally would sit in their kitchen like sipping coffee, just staring out the window watching us.
Damn.
And talked to my parents about it at church on Sunday. Like, oh yeah, they look like they're having so much fun. It's like,
And then if they'd opened the door,
didn't
they'd
know
heard
that.
us cussing each other like dogs and saying the worst
Right.
shit to each other.
Right. Oh my god.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh. Yeah, they don't sound like church people.
Right.
I mean, I think they were the type like, boys will be boys kind of shit. So
There
I think
you
they would
go.
have been fine with it. Yeah.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
And then real quick, this is off memory. Let me know if either one of you guys think it's right. The Prestige NBWA Championship was held by Kevin Axel Success 2 times.
Yes.
Yeah.
That sound accurate?
Yeah.
Sounds right.
Only
I remember at least once, but yeah.
The second time is because I bought it. I literally gave money to the person. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. You're on your Ted DiBiase thing. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So
Adam-
once it's a face, once it's a heel.
There you go. Adam, 2-time NBWA champion.
Sounds right.
Okay. Young Gun.
'Cause I
3-time
know-
NBWA champion.
Three
times.
sounds right too.
I mean, it certainly sounds. I know, like one of the big quote unquote claims to fame that I go off of is I went out when went out of HUW. Yeah. Went out of HUW as champion, and then I ended NBWA as champion as well. So,
And you
I know it went out of both companies. Yes, there's the Super Show. I'm trying to think. Like I know, because me and John won the tag champions in the first Super Show. In the second one, I went against Chris for the title and lost. I don't remember. I remember at one point, I think the third one was me versus Yuri, and I won it, and that was my heel turn. No. I went against the fourth one. I went against John. And I was defending the title, I'm pretty sure, and that was my heel turn. And my very short-lived heel turn because the fifth one it was the bull rope match where I was back to being a babyface, and that I wasn't for the title. And then the last one, I had won the title, was defending the title against John, and went out champion. So those are the ones I remember. I am sure there was.
Sound like you booked yourself in a lot of championship matches.
Uh-oh.
No, yeah. That was the thing is I was like, I was I know at one point, because we had so many of the youth group there, that at one point we like discussed, like, okay, we have to have at least somebody they know in the match.
That's true. That's true.
And because I was like trying to be that hustler, I was like being like that face of that promotion. I was the one going on. I made posters, like putting off like little posters, and I would put up a youth group for it, and like talk to people about it and like really push it. Like I was the number one person doing that. It's like, okay, makes sense for me to be at least in a big match at this time.
Right.
And maybe made sense really, but maybe not. Like I know the number one match, like I'm not in either of the two most viewed matches on YouTube. That is, yeah, number one is you and David, like Steve and David. That is, like, I remember that one being the same day as Josh and Chris had a match, and it was like right before that, and I watched it, like, how are we supposed to go on and compete with that? Like, what are we supposed to? Like, I remember this before, after, but then like you and David's match, like I actually think yours and David's match was better than Josh and Chris's. Yeah, they did a lot of wild stuff, but you and yes, but you were insistent that you did it. Like you thought like competing with them was impossible. And then that one blew up.
Smoke up Josh's ass. Let's be honest.
That could have been.
I was kind of a hype man for certain people.
Yeah, and you might have been, and you also might have been a matter of you can't see your own matches from the audience's perspective. You're in it, so it's kind of it limits things. So it's that, and then I think the second one is John versus Donnie.
Is it?
I think that's number 2. Yeah, I think those are the only two that ever break 1,000.
Mine's 4,000.
Yeah, yours is, and I know it. Like it for us, it blew up quick. Like I think it got like over to 2,000 or 3,000 pretty much within the first month.
Yeah, it was huge.
Yeah, that was the most viral one we ever had. So, which is both amazing and incredibly sad. Incredibly sad. That's the biggest we ever blew up. Like, I mean, wouldn't you like to have the most viewed match that was over 100,000?
Right.
If we could have averaged 5,000, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
No, and like I said, it was. That's kind of part of my gimmick, is I brag that I'm the only person on the podcast that has 4,000 views on YouTube.
Right.
Yeah.
Continuing on, I got Nephitis or what was Nephitis' other name? Archangel.
Archangel Nephitis
one-time
for a while.
NBWA champion.
Yes.
Sounds
yeah.
close. Yeah.
Oh, I have another weird stat for Archangel Nephitis that I did not realize until after we were already finished, or as we were going into being finished, like the final Super Show. He put me like, I was like, something like, okay, so we're gonna do this, like you're gonna wrestle Ben, like discuss like who's going over, blah blah blah. And at the end of it, he's like, so, I've never beaten Ben. He wrestled Ben several times, and like it's like the whole thing, like the David versus Goliath thing. Never once beat Ben. He always, even though he always kind of went in as the Goliath, and Ben's the underdog. The underdog always beat him, so it's no longer kind of an underdog story.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of an underdog story. Chris is the underdog.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was like a weird mindset we got into at one point. Like Chris is the monster. Chris is always the the guy going in as like the unbeatable, and by the end he was the most beatable guy. I think they call that what the guy from Star Trek, the Worf paradox, where they, in order to show a villain is like super strong, and like they knock out Worf, and by like season 8 of that, Wolf's got knocked out so much. Wolf's a bitch. So
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's like,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but here's the thing. Also,
no,
I wanted to bring this up because I'm still half hot about it. I'll hold a grudge until my last breath that I win the championship from Kevin. Give that man that man gets a standing ovation. I thought that was a fucking raccoon jumping on you. I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't have been mad because that would have been cool, but I thought it was a raccoon.
Cool as shit. Look, I'm not gonna say I'd be happier if it was a raccoon because this cat is my absolute favorite.
Oh my
Oh.
God.
She is my cat. But I'd be pretty fucking excited if I had a raccoon.
Yeah, it'd be cool as hell. Or an otter. You know, it's legal to own an otter in Ohio.
No shit.
Really?
I did not know that. I want an
Yeah,
otter
I
now.
might try and get the kids one. They said they
Yeah,
like
that'd be
dogs.
awesome.
Anyway,
I bet.
Buzzing.
side note, otters are fucking cool. Secondly,
Yeah.
no, so I win the Super Show. I win at the Super Show, the very first one, the inaugural. Oh God, that's hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Inaugural.
I-
Inaugural.
Inaugural. Yeah, inaugural Super
Inaugural?
Show. Now,
Which super show was it that Kevin faced Chris and just went over hard?
I can't remember.
Like the audience was behind you so much. Like you were one of them. Like it was really confusing because nobody because you didn't talk about backyard wrestling to
yeah.
fucking anybody that you knew. But so it was all the youth group people, and they fucking loved you.
Really? I don't
Well,
remember. Is that when I cut?
that was probably
Yeah,
the
I think
third
so.
one. The first
Was
one,
that the third one?
the first one is me and Josh versus you and John as the opener. That's the first
Yes.
Super Show.
No, wait, hold on. No, is it?
Yeah, that's the original. I'm pretty
Because-
sure. And then
No. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I think in individual matches because I think we did that and John and I both lost because the first one was the Scorched America versus HUW, which was Craig and
Oh,
David in the tables match. Because I remember John and I lost individual matches ahead of time, and then won the tag team titles in that match because John and I were also very confused by the fact that the youth
lose
group
the tables match?
cheered us when we came out for
Oh, go ahead.
the youth, everyone cheered us coming out individually in our singles match, and then booed us coming out as a tag team until Kevin said you're supposed to be cheering, and then they
remember that.
immediately, yes.
Okay.
And John was like,
remember
"What?"
that.
So, but I think we did fight. Like I think either I fought you or John fought you. Like I think you're right about like you and Josh versus me and John, but I think it was individual matches. I don't think it was a tag match. I have the tape. We can check
Yeah, we'll have to
eventually.
check. But I will say that. So then it comes down to the main event, and it's me and Kevin for the title. And Kevin
I
gets
think
a
you are right.
standing ovation, and they're cheering for him. And so, and I should have let Kevin go over because it would have been huge. But I'm a heel, and so I win, right? The next week, I have to work on a Saturday.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And you bastards vote that I should lose the title.
Dude, I'll say, like, if I'm looking back, especially at Coton's house, I think the title got vacated an
Every
excessive amount of times. Because I think Chris lost it, because I lose to Chris at the Super Show. I think Chris can't show up for a couple weeks. I think he lost it through vacate. I think if we had a solid record of it, I think we'd see that the title was lost more through vacating it than it got lost in matches.
And how dumb is it that our selling point to people to come back is we'll give you the title. If you want to come back and wrestle, you
Right. That's pretty bad. Yeah.
We'll give you the plastic man take.
Yeah.
Because I know we had Paul Axt, who I'm gonna stand by was at least talented and good at what he did, but the most inconsistent bastard. He'd show up for a day, not show up for a year. Oh, cool, come back, and us fucks would put the title on him every single time he came. And I know it changed who. Yes, it changed who. Somebody was always I think this is a really stupid idea, but who it was, I don't think stayed consistent.
There you go.
I think you stayed consistent. I would get
okay.
the
Well,
first time he showed up, I was like, okay, the guy's he's muscular. He can do an RKO. He can do he can do like a standing moonsault.
A standing moonsault. He could F5 Chris and make it look fucking easy.
Correct. So I was like, okay, I get it. So Josh goes out there.
Yes, that's what I remember.
Takes a squash, and they give and he ends up winning the title. He beats Chris. Then he doesn't show up.
Yeah.
Then he comes back.
Yes.
And he brings that title that him and his brother made. You remember that thing?
I don't. No, that wasn't him. That was the other guys who.
Oh.
No, I'm not talking about J2 and them. They brought their own titles too.
Okay.
But
I don't remember that.
Paul, whatever his name was.
The Icon Act. Yes.
Icon, yeah. He had a leather strap, and it was like
Yeah, I think I remember
folded
that.
leather, and then he had Kevin's third
I do
and
vaguely remember that now.
or fifth and third favorite championship as the undisputed championship. The plate just stapled onto it, and he brought it. And he's like, "This
is that what he
my
did?"
brother used, and everybody's like, "Okay, that's our new title," and I'm like, "What's going on here?"
Yeah.
It was a minute.
If this is
I
how you
know.
guys are gonna act, I'm gonna start doing push-ups because I'm fucking
Now
convinced.
you listen to me. Yeah.
And like Paul also like I had met Paul in like at school in like there's a class I had, like it was like the special ed class because I had ADHD that I had a special tutoring bell. And I met him in there. So I was the one who like had brought Paul in. So I'm pretty sure once again the stupid like hustle, like full all in bullshit, very much I was always an advocate. Like, yeah, Paul, let's do this shit.
Right.
And so definitely was another one of the me problems.
I was always trying to bribe John with, dude, we'll give you the title or you can be a tag champion or just book your own feud, because he was one of the most inconsistent. Like, you'd call him and text him and he's like, yeah, I'm showing up, I'm good. And then I'd go to his house Saturday and they'd be like, oh, he's not feeling good or he's not whatever. I can't tell you how many times I just knocked on his door like, you got to come on, and dragged him out of his house, and he'd be mad as hell.
Oh, yeah.
But then by the time he showed up,
I know. It'd be fine, yeah. Yeah, that's always John's things. Yeah. John's more that introvert. He gets that anxiety and doesn't want to come out, doesn't want to show up for things. Like he'll make plans, and then like I knew I would always text John like the morning of, and I knew we're not hanging out because John's not texting me back today. So this is a not because the bullet match that we did was John returning. Like that was like one like his first match back. And he's like he started off in the audience because he's like, oh yeah, they don't know, because he wasn't there at the last Super Show,
right? Because
that was the one, like I think of me and Yuri or something like that. So no, that can't be right. I don't remember, but he wasn't at the last Super Show, or he had been gone like since the last Super Show, and I kept being like, John, no one remembers who was at the last Super Show. No one is keeping track of our roster,
right?
Like, I don't know what storyline you're making, but you can just come out from the back and no one's going to think that's weird.
Right. I mean, I appreciate his attention to detail. But, so just to continue on real quick, there's only a couple more. Steve Hamblin, yours truly, 2-time NBWA champion. That's it.
Sounds right.
The biggest draw in the fucking company gets 2 titles, 2 championship runs.
Yeah. Oh, and I know I talked to you about it at one point. Like, I went back over the that I have access to, and I asked you, like, hey, how many times do you think you've won? And you're like, I don't know. You got to guess. And I'm like, goose egg. I have 0 victories for Steve Hamblin. like the closest you get to the one where you worked my eye, where you get disqualified. So like I win, but you certainly walk out looking like the winner.
Yeah.
So,
well, that was on my run because, just quick detail, and it sounds so goofy talking about this as grown men in their 30s. Well, I'm in my 30s.
Yeah.
No, this is awesome.
Yeah, no, I think we're all in our 30s. Yeah, I'm
so.
gonna be 30. I'm gonna be 34 this year.
Yeah, I'm 35. So. Kevin's gonna be 35. And
34. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, it sounds so ridiculous to go back and say, but there would be times where everyone got on me, and they're like, Steve wins all the time, and I'm like, I don't ever remember winning much. Now,
Mm.
I
I
did say who should win a lot. I was very vocal
yeah.
about, oh no, it shouldn't be this guy, it should be this guy, or whatever. But I don't
Yeah.
remember winning a lot.
I know for like the long time, there's certain points that like you and Josh and John were really on the booking, and when I would ever like try like almost, I was almost like trying to be like the union steward for the rest of the guys, like because they wouldn't come to you with their shit, like because like they'd all closer to me, like come to me with their shit, and then I'd like go and like try to like push certain things and like but like I didn't feel like I had as much like authority like like to stay. This is what's happening because I was like, no, we don't this because we're doing this with this. We're planning on this. We're doing this. Like, okay, you guys have this all booked out. All I can say is I think this, and I don't have anything follow up, so I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna say now.
Right.
And I feel like there was a time at one point where like probably earlier on you won a lot more because that was like that put like times that we don't have, because I know also for the longest time like early on there was a whole bit like I would win a title or do something like the US title or like the tag title or do something here and there, and like there'd be like a question like, man, like Brendan's always winning too. It's like then you like went back through, it's like, oh shit, Brendan actually loses way more than he wins, and Brendan keeps being the guy that whenever a new guy shows up, he's the guy who works with them and then he puts them over. So every time like anyone showed up for like a day, I'd wrestle them and I'd put them over like as a thing. And then like by the last year or two, that was no longer the case. I won a shit ton. Like I have so few losses in that last year, especially. Like I don't. So it got a weird like pattern that started happening where we would realize somebody loses a lot, and all of a sudden they stop losing entirely, or we'd realize someone like Chris. Like we'd realize he wins a lot, he does a lot, he's that monster, he's that big guy. Like okay, he's the monster that's established, so now he loses every fucking match or something. Right. So it got weird.
Yeah.
John Sabian, 2-time NBWA champion. Sounds right.
Sounds right.
Sure. I mean, this is all off memory. Donnie Derange, 2-time NBWA champion.
I don't remember a title run for Donnie.
Neither do I.
I remember one at Donnie's house.
That sounds potentially true. Was Donnie champion when I was going off to college when the curb stomp incident?
I don't know. I don't even know when did you go to college? You went to I don't think I was around when you went to college. No,
you were, because you guys did one show right after I went, and that was when you also on the I think you were on the camera for when like we did the whole thing, like we did a storyline where it's because you guys were supposed to keep going and doing every week without me, so I was supposed to like have like a big injury thing happen where Donnie then like curb stomped me into the grass but didn't release my hands.
Oh, so it was legit.
So I could. Yes. So I just like full face planted into the ground, like hurt like a motherfucker. And the common quote that came out of that was like so in my memory of it, like I screamed it, but apparently it's like into the grass, so it came out weird. So instead, what you guys hear is "fuck you, Donnie."
I remember that. We said that over and over so many times. Yeah.
Like even after we came back, like so long afterwards, like we've been doing a match like with Donnie, and all of a sudden you just hear someone say "fuck you,
Donnie." I remember that. Oh wow.
Okay, so maybe that was it. Maybe that's when Donnie went on his run. I just remember Donnie was a champion. And then Coton, 1-time NBWA champion.
Yep, because I think he lost the title this one and then went right to just being manager and stopped wrestling entirely.
Yeah. And then Eddie Calloway, 1-time NBWA champion.
I remember his run. because that has another incident that makes me like I crack up every time because that was the first time, like every fucking time, like first time, like for our first one of our bigger attempts to try to do ropes, where we had the ladders on each of the
Lovely.
corners of the
That's one of our best setups.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But like, like I think the poles end up being the better setup that we had for it because I remember me and 13 had a match. 13 was bringing out like wanted to do a new finisher, wanted to do the Canadian Destroyer for his finisher.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone was like, absolutely fucking not. I'm not taking that move. I'm not breaking my neck for you. And I was like, I don't give a shit, man. Let's do it. Sure. So me and him did the match. Did the whole match without knocking over the ladders. I think like one point, like one kind of tips, and the person who's being the ref pushes it back down, and everything's fine. I take the Canadian Destroyer, and Josh comes in with the title because it was supposed to be like for
And he trips on the bottom rope.
Yes, he trips on the bottom rope, and it was because it was supposed to be for like a number one contendership spot. So we wanted both to disqualify, so that neither of us got the contendership. So I take the Canadian Destroyer. And Josh hits 13 with the title, and then hits me with the title, and like the whole ring comes fucking down, and he walks out and goes to shout, "I am the man," but what he shouts is, "I am the Nam! Fuck my life!" and then walks away.
That was a good match. I remember thinking that was a good match at the end.
Yes,
got ruined.
it was. Yeah, it was. I remember really liking that match, and then I remember the next match. I don't remember who it was. I just remember it might have been you and Ben or something like that because I just remember like it started like very early on. Guys get tied up in the ropes and things start falling over, and at one point like everything gets knocked over and someone just stops and stares like, "Can we just start over?" And then like we were like, "I think we can't do this. I think like it's just too difficult." I'm like, "What are you guys talking about? Me and 13 did an entire match without knocking them over, and now nobody can do that."
I think it's I think it was John and Chris or something like that because I remember John stopping and being like, "We gotta start this thing over because the ladder fell. They picked it back up, and then like the next move, the ladder fell."
Yeah, I think that's one of the videos that I do still have because that was in that like last year or two, so I could probably pull that up at some point and look at. But yeah, I just remember that being a serious like the first match we did in that setup went off pretty much without a hitch until Josh, but like was good enough that we could like the interference thing was the thing like but the match itself went fine. And then nobody could like every other match was a fuck up with. So we like nope, not doing this. And then we did the PVC pipe.
Yeah, and that was good too because that's where mine and your match came in, where I worked the eye, which you know, there towards the end, I was, you know, I was looking more for stories than actual good matches. Like I wanted something to happen.
Yeah, and you were definitely also looking like what is a weird thing we can do to make this particular match like what's the gimmick of this match that stands out like you know we've talked about we worked the leg, we've worked the arm, we've worked the neck, like I've worked everything here. What else can we like work?
Right.
Like we've never seen a match like focus on like the eye. Never seen a wrestling match where the guy just beats the shit out of a guy's eye. So let's do that.
Yeah, I was yeah, I really did like that. I really thought that was
oh, that was great. I love that match.
Good storytelling. Yeah. And then there's another.
So I was supposed to lead into the bull rope match.
Right. And then, but there's I don't know if it's a match before or after that, where we had the tarps, the big giant tarp for your pool stretched out and staked. And then we could wrestle all over that, and that was considered the ring, but we didn't have ropes. And me and you wrestle, and there's a spot where you're doing like you end up hitting everybody's finisher that had ever beat me, and then stuff like that.
Yeah, I don't think I did. I think that is another match that I do have. I remember specifically it was I hit every finisher that I had.
Yeah.
So I did like just a shit ton of super kicks, the Star Spangled Swanton, and the what we call it, the soldier side, or the 808 crash.
Right.
I think I hit that one twice on you, something
Yeah.
like that.
I just remember us having
So.
good. We had good chemistry. We'd have good matches.
Mhm.
Me and Kevin always
Yeah.
had good chemistry. Me and Kevin never talked about a match one time. We never called a spot.
Yeah.
We never.
Yeah.
We never even came up with the finish.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So,
I remember I like working with Kevin in like the weirder ways, like when we had that like it was like the 5 ways to die match where me and Kevin Kevin had wrestled that match much. It was like a gauntlet setup. There's like, okay, like you do this, and then the winners all go into like a one big battle royal, and me and Kevin like were discussing, and it was like, let's make this the shortest match we fucking can.
I remember this. Yeah.
Like they poked my chest, I just pushed you back, super kick,
Super
air raid
kick,
crash,
air raid side,
pin, and I went like 5-second match.
Yeah. I remember
And
that.
it's like it was more like a minute 20. I'm like, oh
Yeah. We went way over.
I don't think we actually went that far over because they were also counting the entrances. I'm like, look, we can't go 5 seconds with entrances. What are you talking about? I think I checked at one point. I think it was like 15 or like 20 seconds or something like that. So it was a quick match.
Yeah.
So
we had a
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun. I know that, and I know that there's just a lot of good memories. I know that we had, just. I feel like if we could have gone, if I could go back now and tell myself something, then I'd be like, stop fucking worrying about dumb shit like wins and losses. Just go out there and wrestle.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Yeah.
And I know that seems so weird to say because it's like, what the fuck were we? Now looking back, it's like, what were we fighting for? What did it accomplish?
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah. No, like there was like for not for all of us, because I don't think like Chris was never concerned about it. Like David was never like gave a shit one way or the other. Like, cause I can't. There was definitely certain aspects of like the characters, but I could not tell you what Blood Riot's character was at any point. Because like he came out with a backwards hat, sunglasses, and a bat. That was Blood Riot.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah. I don't know. I think when we were Scum of the Earth, he had a little personality with that of being like the sarcastic asshole because I was the sarcastic asshole in Scum of the Earth. So I was like, brought him along with me on that. But I could not tell you a Blood Riot promo at any point.
No, I don't.
Outside of that,
you're right.
Some of those promos we would like. I'll be honest. Some of the promos me and Kevin would just delete before we even.
100%.
Like as soon as I got done,
like and like.
I don't know.
I know we had several promos where we're like, we didn't plan like what we're going to say or anything. Like, this is the idea. This is what we're going to get to. And like, we would get through the whole promo and stop and be like, we didn't talk at all about what we were supposed to talk about. So, we just kind of like go like the worst improv troupe ever. Just never yes ending anyone. Just like always like no, that never happened. What are you talking about? Like just no, but everything everyone said like just nonsense. But yeah, there are certain ones. It was like we treated that shit like life or death. Like it was like so like no, this has to happen this way. I'm basing my whole career off of this moment. And it's like we treated it like we were getting paid for this shit. And it's like, we definitely weren't. Yeah.
I mean, there's just
like my house is on the line, guys. I'm 16 years old. My mortgage.
There's just hours and hours spent booking and writing stuff down in notebooks filled with like feud ideas, and like I always tried to talk Chris into changing his name to Chris Powers and being like a cult leader. I would tell Chris all the time, like in the back, like, Chris, change your name to Chris Powers, man. And he'd be like, no, I don't like that name. And then he'd come up with like Nephitis, the angel that fell and fought whoever, and I'd be like, that's fine and all, but you're also, in a Dale Earnhardt shirt, so let's maybe...
most of the time we just showed up in whatever we had. Like I did do some more planning with my outfits specifically with that in mind for what I was doing. That's always been kind of the thing. That's why I have. I'm shoulder to shoulder. Like that's why I still have this. This is a shirt that I bought. Like I found it like after I was at a movie. I went to like a Kroger or Walmart. I saw that. I'm like, and me and John was Scorched America at that point. Like, look, dude, you're Jay Phoenix. I'm Young Gun. This looks like a Phoenix of America. So I bought us both shirts, and like they came back and did that. And like I think like the following week we stopped being like we broke up as Squished America.
Right.
Yeah.
But I would wear the shirt sometimes. I would. So yeah, what are you gonna say, Steve?
I was just gonna say, and I would always wear like there towards the end. I would wear a polo and jean shorts and matching shoes, whatever polo I was wearing, and stuff like that. When we became the glass ceiling. And so I always tried to do something. I mean, I didn't go out of my way and buy wrestling gear or anything. I'm not going to pretend that I did.
No.
But I would tell Chris, I'd be like...
I didn't either.
Right. I'd be like, Chris, be Chris Powers and be this cult leader and then get Simeon, what was his name? Craig. And get David. And then David, instead of being Blood Riot, why don't you just be Dave Riot? And it's Dave Riot, Chris Powers, and then Simeon and whatever. And you guys be like this group and whatever. And just none of them, they just never, they acted like I was weird. They act like I was a dumb. But I always thought it was a good idea.
I like that idea. Yeah.
It's not bad. It's very straight edge society kind of thing, but not obviously.
Right.
It's the straight edge angle and all that.
They would just come out and be different. And like Chris would, talk about how he's gonna save people or change people or whatever, and I don't know. I just thought it was something a little different than Nephitis and because he'd be like, I'm a big monster heel and I do the Bavarian spike 37 times or whatever.
Yeah, Jesus. No footage of this exists, obviously, because the second the second Super Show happened. Like the first one happened, my dad brought his camera along to record it, so we have slightly better quality. And then the second one was after my dad's cancer diagnosis, so he was dealing with that, so he couldn't at the show, so we don't have any footage of it. Because we got I think it was the one that Josh showed up late. It was like, nobody's into this. I'm not wrestling, so we ended up only doing 3 matches.
Yeah.
And and that was the one that John and I both bladed. And it worked. And it was the only time it ever worked, no matter how many times John and I tried to blade again later. And then, Chris hit me with that first spike. And, I expected it up here in, the chest. He hit me in the solar plexus, knocked the wind out of me. We had planned to do 3 spikes. That was the plan. The first one I went and I'm like, oh, shit, this sucks. I was like, hey, higher. Don't hit. He's like, okay. Picks me up. Spikes again, exact same spot. And I'm like, motherfucker. And he goes to pick me up again. And I said, Chris, no. He's like, it's okay. I got it. Okay. Picks me up. Okay. Spikes me in the fucking same spot again. I'm like, you motherfucker. Oh, I was so pissed.
That's better than what I'd have done, because I'd have just shoved my thumb through your fucking neck. I was a little stiff at times.
Like this?
Yeah,
Dude, we had some stiff work, because 13 was sometimes super goddamn stiff.
Yeah,
because I remember at the Super
punches when he'd hit you in the back.
Just
on his body.
He's kept his punch. Yeah, his body shots just lit me up, and I'm like, and we're at one of the Super Shows, and he's supposed to opening match. He's supposed to win. I'm supposed to lose. Because we did that for a while. If somebody was going to win a title at the Super Show, they do an opening match where they lose for some reason, to even out our ego.
Yeah.
Don't
and
get a big head.
Punch me
you
in the
lose in the beginning.
Right. Just yeah.
Win in the end, but you have to lose first to win.
Right.
Just stiff body shots, and I'm like, I grab him by the collar and pull him if you keep hitting, I told him a couple times hey, lighten up. He keeps doing it, and I'm like, grab him by the collar, I'm if you keep hitting me for real, I'm going to start hitting you for real. And then he lightened up, and he when we were in the back, he was did you really mean it? Would you have actually done it? And I'm like, yeah, I would have. And he's like, oh man, it would have been a real fight then. And I'm like, sure, dude. I didn't tell him what I meant by I will start hitting you for real. I was just gonna lock him in a real naked choke,
right,
and just choke him the fuck out. and just that'd be the end of the. That would have been really confusing what the end of that match was, but I was not going to like tell him it's coming. I just locked it in and just done it.
Mhm.
So
No, I was and see, I was a big proponent for 13. Nobody really liked that, but I thought 13 was good. I was also a big proponent for Nick Johnson.
Nick Johnson,
yeah, and I hated Nick.
Oh, Kevin will tell you about Nick. He's a famous wrestler now because of Kevin.
Oh, dude, get this. So I was still working at Kroger in the pharmacy, and so I see him coming up to the pharmacy, and I knew he was going to say something wrestling related, so I hit.
Of course.
I literally ran. Yeah. So
every conversation I had with that guy was wrestling related.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Which is fine, but like sometimes in a professional setting, let's just take it easy about it. So he still comes up to the pharmacy. Like,
let's occasionally talk about something else, please. Just I love wrestling too. It's great talking about it. It's enjoyable, but you know, there's other things in life.
Exactly. But not with him. So he still comes up to the pharmacy. I'm still hiding. And the smallest petite little girl, of course, is the one that he gets waited by. And because she comes to me and tells me this, he told her, tell Kevin, thanks for what was it? Tell him thanks for something about thanking me for getting him to his career that he's at or something like that. So when she tells me that, she then asks, of course, what was he talking about? And I had to be like, something about backyard wrestling. I don't know that guy, something like that. But I was so embarrassed because I knew he was going to do something like that. But that was the last time I actually saw him. I never saw him ever since. So apparently, I
have no idea what happened to him.
Yeah.
Tell Kevin,
I don't know shit.
Because of him, it's how I got as far as I have, or something like that. You were telling me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like apparently his career expanded apparently. And he wanted to.
I'm gonna Google him later. Try to see if I can figure out if he's wrestling.
Yeah, Steve and I tried to find him on Facebook. Yeah, it's hard to find a Nick Johnson. There's a million of them.
Yeah, obviously. I'll tell you actually something.
I know you said you got to get ready to go or whatever, but I would like to get you back on here for another round of this. And then, side note, Kevin and I are thinking about starting a movie podcast where we watch movies and talk about that. You seem right up that alley.
I'd be down to hop on there sometimes too, so
and shoot the shit on that. All right, brother. Well, we appreciate your time, and I'll get this one out, and we'll do part 2 and get a little more in depth with it. Maybe talk a little bit more of your fandom or recent events, or just shoot the shit.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it, guys. Had a lot of fun.
Awesome.
All right, you too. Thanks, sir.
All right.
We'll see ya.